The sky over Russia is on fire again. Last night, Ukrainian Flamingo drone missiles unleashed real hell on one of the enemy's largest ammunition depots. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine has already officially confirmed the strategic GRAU arsenal was hit, where thousands of tons of shells, missiles, and scarce Korean munitions were stored. Why was this depot critically important for the occupiers' offensive? What consequences will this explosion have for the front near Pokrovsk and Chasiv Yar? And how have the new Flamingo drones changed the rules of the game deep in Russia's rear? Right now, we'll break down the details of this successful operation. Watch until the end. Russians will remember explosions like these for a long time. Well, you'll find more details in our report. You're watching the GRAU channel, and I'm your host, Yevhen Serov. Like and subscribe to the channel. According to GRAU, citing the General Staff, the attack was carefully planned. The GRAU arsenal is not just a warehouse, it's a huge logistics base that supplied artillery to entire sectors of the front. According to satellite images and eyewitnesses, after a series of strikes, powerful secondary explosions began at the site. Shells were flying for kilometers around, making it impossible for local services to extinguish the fire. It's important to note that this very arsenal had recently received large shipments of missiles for the S-300 and S-400 systems, which the enemy uses to terrorize Ukrainian cities, as well as North Korean-made ballistic missiles. The General Staff's report pays special attention to the Flamingo UAV attack systems. This is a new type of Ukrainian kamikaze drone, missiles with increased range and resistance to electronic warfare systems. Their distinctive feature is that they are capable of flying at extremely low altitudes, hugging the terrain, which makes them almost invisible to Russian radars. These drones are equipped with a powerful warhead, capable of penetrating even reinforced concrete hangars. And the successful strike on the GRAU arsenal proves the Ukrainian defense industry has created a weapon capable of systematically taking out Russian depots even 500 to 700 kilometers from the border. The destruction of such an arsenal is not just impressive footage for social media, it's a direct blow to the offensive capabilities of the occupiers. Military experts note that the loss of thousands of tons of ammunition will lead to a shortage of shells in certain sections of the front within just a few weeks. The enemy will be forced to reconsider their logistics and move their depots even farther from the border, which will significantly complicate the delivery of shells to their artillery. In addition, the destruction of air defense missiles makes Russian airfields and command posts even more vulnerable. Flamingo has effectively cleared the skies for subsequent attacks on Russian military targets. The strike on the GRAU arsenal is a victory of Ukrainian intelligence over Russian brute force. We are not just responding to shelling, we are destroying the enemy's very ability to wage war. Every such explosion means hundreds of lives of our defenders on the front line are saved. What do you think? Should the Ukrainian armed forces focus their efforts specifically on these strategic depots to completely halt the Russian offensive? Or should they strike more at the airfields instead? Share your opinion in the comments. It's important for us to know your thoughts. If you enjoyed this update, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this incredible news about the success of our advanced missile drones. Glory to Ukraine, and
We're returning to the swamps. As they say, it's not just about the mosquitoes. A massive fire and detonation is ongoing at the warehouse of the Russian main missile and artillery directorate in the Volgograd region. Today, drones paid a visit there as well, local drones too. Thanks to them for the video. They published what you see on your screens. This is a video showing the strikes and repeated explosions filmed by residents of Kotluban, where this main arsenal is located. They are being evacuated, and right now they're showing us this video of the repeated detonation. There was a flash, now it will flare up again, and so on. At this point, it's probably not so much about what hit, but the fact that something did hit. Because if the arsenal was struck and there's a repeated detonation, then the risk of it spreading to other storage sites within the arsenal is enormous, since it's so huge.
I would like to witness the effect of a chain reaction. When everything explodes and detonates, even what's underground due to active detonation. So here, once again, we need to discuss our capabilities in detail. to launch a sufficiently large number of munitions that can reach such depths and create significant problems. For the enemy, it's important not only to use actual munitions, but also to use decoys to overload the air defense system. This is once again what the enemy does. By overloading our air defense system. But in any case, again, the GRAU depots. This is a critical logistical component where a substantial quantity of weaponry is stored, which is then actively deployed across the territory of Ukraine. Therefore, in principle, there should be more such operations. But again, let's return to intelligence gathering. We need to understand where to strike in order to effectively destroy this depot. We need to monitor the dynamics of weapon deliveries to this depot. On which days, in which warehouses there is more weaponry, and what kind of weaponry, because accordingly the effect we achieve will depend on which warehouse with which weapons we hit. And that is exactly why, in fact, intelligence work is also very important here. As Mr. Budanov once clearly emphasized, that we truly need to obtain more detailed intelligence data there. And we should be very grateful that we have the valuable opportunity to purchase intelligence data from the Americans. What they provide us is only a small percentage. And again, coming back to the perception of information regarding intelligence data, recently Macron also stated that they are providing us with a large amount of information. Here we need to understand what kind of information they are giving us. Is it just satellite images that, in principle, we could get from commercial satellites? Or is it detailed processed information, long-term monitoring of certain groups of forces on which days certain events take place? Weapon supplies, delivery dates, and destinations.
So what exactly is currently being monitored and tracked? I would imagine that you carefully analyze the overall strategic condition of Russian military facilities, various types of missiles, combat aircraft, and their highly sophisticated air defense networks in great detail. Do you remember when the then head of the security service, Vasyl Malyuk, reported on the number of Pantsirs destroyed, how many they produce, and what they are unable to cover, the number destroyed? And what are they able to cover today in terms of quantity? As I understand it, they are covering missiles. What they launch, they are able to produce in sufficient quantities. But what about their air defense systems and electronic warfare? How are they doing in that regard?
I would probably look at this from a slightly different angle. We really like to actively tell the United States and other countries how many Western components are in Russian weapons. But the problem is that the number of Russian-made components is increasing significantly. The number of Chinese components, which we cannot influence, is also increasing significantly. Let's take a look at who the Russian Federation is working with. The Russian Federation works with Belarus, which supplies some electronics that, in terms of technology, are basically at the level of the early 2000s. But that was back when Russia had a carte blanche and could install French avionics in its Sukhoi aircraft. In other words, that's exactly what they're lacking now for their Su-34 and Su-35, which they call 4+ generation aircraft. Additionally, it's important to mention that at the same time, Iran is actively supplying certain technologies and exchanging technologies with the Russian Federation. Shaheds, Geran, and Karar, a jet-powered drone that in profile closely matches a cruise missile, North Korea, ballistic missiles, artillery shells, and China, which supplies a large number of various inexpensive components for strike drones. Let's note, for example, that Russia is the first to buy up fiber optic cable from China. There's none left, not for us, not for Europe, not for the United States, not even for civilian needs. So here we need to point out that Russia has managed to unite around itself a number of countries that supply it with components. Additionally, there are other countries that, for example, can provide them with the purchase of Starlinks. This also needs to be taken into account. Therefore, here, in any case, when communicating with our Western partners, it is definitely necessary to say that we still need to ask about the ultimate beneficiaries, who is buying your high-tech solutions. At the same time, we need to emphasize that we must join forces in order to more effectively counter the Russian threat. That is perhaps the best sanctions. After all, strikes on military targets on the production facilities of the Russian Federation are more effective than simply depriving them of some economic component.
Thank you, Mr. Anatoly. Anatoly Krapchinsky was our studio guest. He is the Director of Development at a defense enterprise and a reserve officer of the Air Force. Thank you.